Celibacy in 2015, mission impossible or more than possible? Today we are joined by two individuals who in fact believe that it is mission possible. Richard and Pathellia, thanks for joining us. First question, would your friends and family consider you a chatterbox?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
The big question, guys, why did you decide to stay away from sex?
All right. The decision to abstain from sex, for me, when I took that decision some time ago, was intended to kind of redirect my life. My life was lived very much in pursuit of pleasure. And I wanted to redirect the focus from the pursuit of pleasure to the fulfillment of purpose. And relationships played a large role in that. And I wanted to make sure that my relationships were healthier. All relationships, work relationships, familial relationships, relationships with friends, and relationships with significant others. And in the circumstances, I thought, well, because of the huge role sex plays in a relationship with your significant other, abstinence until you're certain about the role that it should be playing was crucial.
Right.
okay.
And that, to me, was the principal reason for abstaining at the time that I was abstaining.
So then it adds value. It adds value to relationships. I don't think I've ever heard that perspective before, because I just think about sex and celibacy in the context of a relationship. So to add value to your friends and family, like what you were mentioning, that's quite interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're trying to add value in every relationship you're in. I mean, our value is measured by our value as human beings is measured by the impact that we have on our environment,
Right,
on our
okay.
friends, on our business, on, you know, any
So it was more
anything that we
adding
do.
value to yourself, was it because it was a personal decision of staying away for you to feel better about who you were at the time or who you are now, who you wanted to be?
No, not principally. It was about nurturing better relationships.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Pathellia?
I decided to be celibate because I want to save myself from my husband.
Okay.
Yes.
So then I get the feeling you've never had sex before.
Never had sex before.
Okay. Okay.
Part of the motivation was fear. You know, your mother or your father would come at you, and that's how my mom was. She was very strict with what was expected. I grew up in a Christian home, and so it was expected.
Right.
And then when I made a decision to become a Christian, I then decided it's best that I save this for my husband.
Okay, wait. So can I ask, is it just in the context of being a Christian? Is it just all about religion that we can talk about celibacy? Or can you abstain or be celibate without, say, being a Christian?
Or even after you've started having sex at some point
At
in time
some
in
point.
your life, yeah.
Definitely, because the choice to become celibate is a mind thing. You've decided I'm not gonna enjoy this at this time until a certain time. So there are persons who are not Christians. There are other religions, Hindus, that will, there's a level of it where you leave your family that you've already had and go into the mountains and be a yogi. So it's a part of them as well. And there are people who are more inclined to other kinds of belief that will choose to be celibate. And some people, they just don't like having sex anymore. And sometimes, let's be honest, trauma pushes you to discontinue having sex.
Right. So several things could really lead to you making this decision
Exactly.
to not have sex anymore. But, I mean, I'm sure you guys have been asked this question. And I'm going to ask it because the people want to know. All right? Yeah, they want to know.
Say it like it is, Debbie.
Exactly. It's chatterbox.
Yeah.
What do you do, though? Because naturally, we're built that way. Not many people probably embrace that side of them, but you can't ignore the fact that we are built in a way where our bodies, you go through that urge, go through that feeling, that desire to want to...
Sexually charged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To explore your
Sexuality.
sexuality.
You can say it.
You're right.
Let
What
me-
do you do, though?
let me-
And don't tell me cold shower and pray about it.
Oh, that doesn't work.
I can break it down from my perspective. Sex is just as natural. The desire for sex or for sexual gratification is just as natural as hunger and thirst. So any decision that I have made in my life to abstain from sex has been for a term. It has never been a decision that I'm never going to have sex again. That to me would be unnecessary, cruel, and unusual punishment. And I have no desire to abstain from sex for the rest of my life any more than I do not to eat or drink for the rest of my life. But when I determine that each and every aspect of my life, whether vocational, financial, personal, familial, social, intellectual, should be pursued with purpose, then you start looking at sex differently. You don't get into sex for the mere purpose of physical, sexual gratification. It must be a purposeful act. And once you make that determination, then the term for which you abstain from sex is until that purpose is defined, and you are then free to pursue it.
But can we talk about, we're in 2015, and what about have sex to make him stay, or
Her stay.
or
Can I
her
touch
stay?
that? Can I handle
Yeah,
that
let's
one?
talk about it.
Your decision to have sex to make a man stay speaks to, sadly, how you value yourself. If you think that your intent is to grab him with sex and keep him with sex, you need to consider where you put yourself, because he's definitely not giving it up to hold you. So why do you think you have to give it up to hold him?
Can I just ask Pathellia before we move on to which I'm so sorry. As girl to girl.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Girl to girl. Honey.
Okay.
Right. So you see that you're touching 50 and you have not gotten married yet. And you have not experienced sex. And, I mean, knock on wood, I mean, something happens and you hear, oh, you're terminally ill and you're about to die in 3 months. Then you're willing to go back to your creator as he sent you down here?
My firm belief is if that is what happens to me, that is what should have happened.
Gotcha.
And I have to find peace in that.
That's fine.
But that's not what's going to happen.
She wants it.
Good, I love it. Right. Richard?
Well, sex is one of the most dominant impulses known to mankind.
Don't we know it, Richard?
Yeah, man, it's a dominant impulse, and any decision to abstain from sex requires a great deal of effort on the part of the person who has made that decision.
And as a man.
And as a man. No man.
As a man, it's an extraordinary. Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, and I have a particularly high libido. It was a terrific challenge. It was a terrific challenge. But I cannot say that the term of celibacy or abstinence for me was not fruitful. It taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about the value that I attach to the relationships I'm in, especially an intimate relationship. Because for me, sex was such a natural part of a relationship that once the attraction is there, you engage in the act.
Exactly.
And as long as you're consenting adults, then there's no problem. However, you find that this physical attraction doesn't help when the relationship is on the rocks, when you're both engaged in some kind of conflict of issues or interests. The attraction that you have to each other and the sex doesn't assist, it doesn't help. At the end of the day, if there isn't a significant relationship behind the sexual attraction, then it's a fairly hollow sexual attraction. As great as the sex might be, how you guys interact is going to be more a function of how you feel about each other and about yourselves and about other things. What you think, your opinions and this, that, and the other. And none of that comes into play when the raw emotion is gnawing at you.
Let's
so
talk
speak.
about your approach now. What's that like when you're going to go to your partner and say to your partner, darling, this is not going to happen until you put a ring on it and we step down the aisle. What is my approach? How should I approach my significant other in translating this to him?
All right. Well, obviously that's not a
Or
question.
her.
Or her.
It's not
Right.
about me, but for those who are watching, commitment is important. And if you are going to go into a committed relationship with somebody, they should be able to at least meet you there. You need to be walking in agreement up to that point. And if you're not in agreement, you need to consider if this relationship is worth going to the next level.
But before you, sorry, Richard, before you get to being with him for a while.
Right.
Just at the beginning, when you want to say, boy, you know, I know you're probably expecting
Right.
us to have
There's
sex,
that talk you have with the person to find out who they are, feel them out, you know, get to know them. And there are certain indicators that will come up to make you know if this is one worth, if he says to you, would you like a more committed relationship, to decide, no, not with you, because you're too frivolous, you're too indisciplined. And you need to look out for the markers from before, so that if when you get to that conversation, it shouldn't be a shocker to hear him say, no, I can't wait on you, I'm leaving now.
Gotcha.
Let me tell you, the only person over whom I have any control is myself. Right? If I meet a woman and I'm interested in starting a relationship with her, and I'm physically attracted to her, and I'm intellectually stimulated by her, and we have the same kind of values and that kind of thing, then you approach on all levels. If you're going to be honest and open with anybody who you have any kind of intention to pursue an intimate relationship with, you have to be open and honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just too much of a risk to be physically open and honest at the same time that you're just meeting somebody. It's just too much of a risk. So there has to be a period, and you ladies must admit this, there has to be a period that you're not going to have sex
Right.
until you know
Yeah.
what this man's
Yeah.
intentions are.
Yeah.
Well, extend that. Extend that period to getting to really know who this person is and determining on the basis of what you both know about each other whether or not there's sufficient compatibility between you intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, financially,
Right.
to pursue this kind of relationship. And if that is your purpose then, to get into a relationship for this reason, and you determine that all the check boxes are ticked, then by all means go ahead. It doesn't have to be a religious thing.
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. We could talk about this for a little bit more.